Hello, one and all. This is Luckless Lovelocks. Welcome back to 999, and I'm like super stoked about this. I feel like this is like the extra special path for this one. I don't know. It's like it required a lot of convincing. So let's just see where it takes us. With those two numbers in the red, Junpei had what he wanted. I'm trying to think. Oh, because we want to go with June, I guess. No, because that won't work. I'm not quite sure. I'm not following this. He casually placed his own hand on the scanner, and the third asterisk blinked on. Plus 5 equals 9, yeah.
All right. The only people who haven't authenticated now are Santa, Clover, and Lotus.
So, what's your point?
You don't get it. Think about it.
Huh?
What's the sum of your number and Clover's?
12.
And what's the digital root of that?
3.
Which is Santa's number. By the way, Lotus, what's the number that's currently in the red?
7 plus 6 plus 5 equals 18. It would be 9, right?
Yes, and what will the digital root be if you add 3 to that?
3, the door's number.
There you go.
Hey, wait a minute. What the hell are you up to?
I'm not up to anything. I'm just waiting.
Waiting for what?
I'm waiting for the balance to shift. Santa, or Lotus and Clover. Once one of you moves, the others won't have a choice.
Oh, we're setting him up.
So I'm waiting.
Junpei. Junpei's the man. Junpei laid his hand almost casually on the lever.
You son of a bitch! You tricked us! Then all that stuff you were going on about is all bullshit!
Bullshit? Huh. I don't think so. Didn't I tell you I'd figured out another way to get out of here? This is it.
Why the hell would you do something like this?
Junpei glanced at June.
Jumpy.
You did this just so you could go through the same door as June. That's it?
Santa was furious. His face was red and flecks of spit flew from his lips as he spoke. Junpei closed his eyes calmly and then opened them again.
So, who's it going to be?
I like this Junpei.
Santa? Or Lotus and Clover?
Shit!
Let's go, Clover. Huh?
Oh man! Lotus leapt forward. She grabbed Clover by the sleeve and ran for Junpei and the door.
Fuck!
Caught by surprise, Santa froze for a moment, then shot forward like a bullet from a gun. He's behind. Lotus had a head start, but Santa had the advantage in size and speed. Almost immediately, he passed Lotus and Clover.
Oh, no, wait!
Santa did not hesitate. He slammed his hand down on the red.
This is insane! This isn't right!
He glared at Junpei, his chest heaving.
Yeah, well, you may be right.
Junpei's voice was cold, but not without effort.
But
He turned to the red and pulled the lever. With the sound of metal on metal, the door opened. It would only remain so for 9 seconds. There was no time to think.
Go.
Junpei and his 3 reluctant companions jumped into the door's gaping mouth, one after another. No sooner did they enter than an all too familiar noise sounded from their left wrists. The detonators had activated. Junpei looked back only once and saw Lotus and Clover on the other side of the closing door.
No.
What are they gonna do? We're gonna have to go back for that? Oh, this is so cool. They stood still, stopped where they had been when Santa reached the red. The defeat and desperation on their faces tore at Junpei's heart. Then the door closed, and they were gone.
You son of a bitch, Junpei! This isn't fair! there!
Santa rounded on Junpei, lightning crackling in his eyes and his knuckles white.
Do you realize what you just did? You leave them out there, and they can't...
Shut it! That's enough!
It hadn't been Junpei that spoke, but Seven.
We gotta find the dead or none of this is gonna matter!
The clock was ticking. The dead was their only chance at survival. Unless they could find it and deactivate their detonators, the four of them would be.
We got less than a minute left. No time for screwing around. Get moving!
Damn it. You and I are not done yet, bastard!
They scattered and began to scour the room. The deactivation device was nowhere to be found.
Where the hell is it?
Corridors stretched out in 3 directions, but every one was blocked off by a wall of metal. There was only one way out. One other door.
Over there! It's gotta be behind the door!
Seven ran for the door, a rusty iron thing. His large hands grabbed hold of the handle and pulled.
Damn, it's pitch dark inside.
Can't see a thing!
Junpei stuck his head through the door and looked around the room.
No, wait!
Almost immediately, he spotted the blinking red light on the right wall.
I found it! The dead's right over here!
He stepped into the room.
Ugh.
Oh god, the body.
What?
Wouldn't they smell it though?
The floor's slippery!
He stopped and glanced down at his feet. What was...
Hey! What the hell are you doing?
There's something...
Get over there!
Junpei felt Seven's heavy hand against his back and stumbled across the room. The other 3 piled in behind him. They all felt immediately that something was wrong. Nothing that could be easily identified, only a sense that something terrible shared the room with them. But there was no time to say so.
Quick! Get to the dead!
They all started running. In the dark, it was hard to tell where the wall was. All they could see was the tiny red light blinking at them over and over and over.
There it is!
Covered in blood. Ugh! In quick succession, they all slammed their hands against the scanner panel. Seven leaned against the wall, gulping air. As his breathing began to return to normal, he glanced at his left wrist and grunted.
It stopped. It stopped.
Junpei could hear him laughing in the dark, but could barely make out the larger man's face.
I don't think I'll ever get used to doing this.
No kidding. I'm stressed out by this. I can only imagine what they would feel like.
What the...
The sound of retching came from Santa's direction.
What the hell is this smell? This is vile. I'm gonna puke.
So desperate had they been in their race to the dead that no one had noticed the horrible smell that pervaded the room. It was a terrible, nauseating stench, like burnt and rotten meat. Adrenaline had drowned it out, but now it rolled over Junpei in waves, forcing itself into his nose with every breath he took.
Oh, you're right. Oh, this is...
He felt his stomach clench and bile rise up at his throat.
Let's get the lights on first. There's a switch over here.
The light that spilled in from the door barely illuminated a small switch plate next to the door. Slowly, with the toll of the last few minutes apparent in his gait, Seven walked toward it. Oh, that sound. He stopped as he got close and extended his fingers toward the switch.
Okay, guys, I'm flipping it on.
There was a soft click as the lights came on. Just as the light turned on, June took in a short breath and a scream echoes through the room. Junpei's breath stopped in his throat. His heart ceased to beat. Time froze. His mind scrambled to make sense of what he saw before him.
What? Hey. Oh, this is...
What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great Red Sea. A vast, ragged hole had been torn in the torso. What remained of his intestines spilled out of it like fresh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall, even as they dried to it.
Looks like an explosion.
Seven's voice was low and strained.
Just like the Ninth Man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gun.
Oh god. The bone is coming out of his left arm.
It's definitely an open fracture.
It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. Is it ulna or ulna? His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces.
The face is the worst.
Yeah, you can't even tell who it is.
Half of his head had simply collapsed. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. His clothes, too, were covered in blood. The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the gray slacks.
But the clothes are...
They were all familiar to Junpei.
Is that... Snake?
Santa's voice wavered as he spoke, his mouth dry.
Oh my god.
Finally, Junpei spoke.
Why did this happen?
No!
Oh man, June's losing it! Suddenly, June was screaming, her voice broken. It was an eerie scream, full of insanity and not entirely human.
No! No! No!
She shook her head violently and grabbed fistfuls of her own hair. Junpei could hear the sound of hair tearing.
Stop! Calm down.
He grabbed for her wrist.
Hey!
But as he did, June leapt up and ran toward the exit.
Please! Get me out of here! You have to let me out of here!
I don't blame her, I'd probably react the same way. She screamed at the door and her fists slammed against it with a hollow sound. Junpei could see drops of blood under her knuckles.
Why are you doing these horrible things to us? What did we do to deserve this?
June.
She screamed again, a desperate, mindless cry. Her fists flailed against the door.
Get me out of here! Please! Please! Just let me out!
June.
Junpei couldn't watch anymore. He ran to June and wrapped his arm around her, pulling the screaming girl away from the door.
Calm down.
No! Get off of me! Let me go! Let me go!
Please, calm down.
She scrambled for a moment, her legs skittering across the floor, but her resistance didn't last long. As suddenly as her outbursts had begun, it was over. The manic energy disappeared and her body went limp in Junpei's arms. June collapsed toward the floor, and Junpei knelt down with her. He felt drops of something warm and wet. Was she crying? A moment later, she began to sob. Her shoulders shook and great, hot tears rolled down her face like rain.
We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be alright, June. It's going to be okay, Connie.
Her name was a whisper.
I'll be here with you, okay?
She nodded once.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Junpei.
Her trembling voice pulled at Junpei's heart. He stroked her hair gently. His face was so close to her. The scent of her hair was nostalgic.
Do you feel better?
Yes. But I'd like to stay here. For a little while, at least. Junpei's body is so warm.
Several minutes passed before June's tears had dried. Junpei stood up. He bent down, put his arms under June's, and helped her to her feet. They didn't speak. Neither did Seven or Santa. A person was dead. They had died in that room in a terrible way. Junpei knew there was no way he could make himself forget that. There was no way any of them could forget it, but mourning would do no good. They spread out to search the room, but each felt as if their heart was made of lead.
We better get to it.
Here we go. The shower room. First thing that pops out at me is the reggae. L and R. Lotus and something. Those letters written in blood. Oh, LLR. I didn't see the first L. I don't know what it means. LLR. You think that might be some sort of dying message from Snake? No, that's impossible. You saw the body? You aren't doing anything after something like that happens to you. That's another good point. Then this, the way the blood's dried tells you it's real old. Whoever's blood this is, it ain't Snake's. Then you're saying this blood was put here a long time ago? Yeah. It's gonna be part, I guess it's part of the puzzle? Oh. I wonder if we see something with the lights off. Okay, I can't select that. Let's look around. We might have to turn the lights off. Oops. Alright, let's see if anything happens when I turn you... No, nothing. Not even a drop. Is the pipe clogged? Look at the shower works. That's where we came in. Oh, I see. They walked through the body. I guess it's not locked, but there ain't really any point. All that's out there is the numbered door. Can't go back through the numbered door, even if we wanted to. letters in the toilet paper? Toilet paper with some kind of red symbols on it. I think maybe that's a Cytail cipher? Cytail cipher? The hell is that? You wrap a piece of paper around a stick and then write several sentences on it so the whole paper is filled up. Oh, I see. Then you unwrap the paper and you can't tell what the original message was, right? That's how it works, more or less. Then to decipher it, you gotta have a stick that's the same diameter as the original one. Same diameter as the original one, huh? Yeah. Then you just wrap the paper around that stick and you can read the code. Okay. Wooden box. There's something in here. Luminol. Ah. Luminol is what you spray to see cleaned off blood splatters, I think. Kind of spray bottle. There's something written on it. Lumen. Can't read anything else. The label's all faded. Let me see that. I just grabbed it from him. That wasn't very nice. Oh, this is luminol. You know, forensic guys use it at a crime scene. I think you put like a black light over it with the lights off. Oh yeah, that stuff glows blue when you spray it on blood. Even if the blood's been wiped off, it'll still glow. Okay. A thick pipe that stretches down from the ceiling. It's a tin bucket. Hey, Jumpy. You remember back in elementary school when you spilled all of our paint across the whole classroom? They made you clean it up, and all they gave you was a sponge and a bucket? Like this? Hey, come on now. Can't we just leave the past in the past? Junpei reached for the broom, and as he grabbed it, he heard a soft voice from behind him. It was June.
The rabbit hutch.
What? Huh?
What does that mean? He turned around. June still looked sadly pale, but there was a smile on her face.
Oh, you just reminded me of it. The rabbit hutch, I mean.
How did I remind you of something like that?
Jumpy and the broom. You're always playing around with the broom in front of the rabbit hutch.
I was remarking that we didn't really know that much about the characters. Because anytime we kind of spend time alone like this, we tend to get these like scientific theories from them. Or these weird paranormal stories. But we never really find out that much about the past of the characters, and now we're finding out something.
I was.
Don't you remember?
Junpei stared at the broom in his hand.
You mean you don't remember that summer either?
She looked very sad. She shook. He shook his head.
Of course I remember. How could I forget something like that?
Is Junpei just lying now?
It was terrible.
They were in the 6th grade. Junpei and June had been assigned to take care of the classroom pets, the rabbits. Their chief duty was to clean the hutches every morning. On the final day of school before summer vacation began, Junpei overslept. He rushed to school and found June standing in front of the rabbit hutches. No sooner had Junpei arrived than June began to cry. He had no idea why until he looked behind her into the rabbit hutch. The first thing he saw was blood. The hutch was filled with the dead bodies of the rabbits. Even after their teachers and friends came to see what the commotion was, June couldn't stop crying.
I just kept crying and crying until you came over.
Kind of similar to the scene that we just saw with the body.
You held my hand and you looked very serious, and you said, "Don't cry. I'm gonna catch the person who did this." After you told me that, I finally stopped crying.
Well, the real fun started after you quit crying. You told me we were gonna catch the killer together.
June smiled, and a little of the flush of life returned to her cheeks.
Then we decided that we'd ambush them.
Yeah, I remember.
The school also kept roosters and guinea pigs. Junpei and June had decided the murderer would likely return to finish off the rest of the animals. They would ambush the killer at night. Junpei and June hid behind the hutch at dusk and waited. It was a warm summer night. The quiet sound of crickets whispered through the air. As the sun went down, the stars began to wink at them from the sky. And June's, Kane Kuroshiki's face. That night was something Junpei knew he would never forget as long as he lived.
But the murderer never showed up. We waited for them all summer vacation, and they never showed up.
Yeah, but the animals didn't get attacked either. I think all that work amounted to something, you know?
It felt the same way, but it was good to hear her say it.
Although, you know, if you think about it, we were probably taking on a lot more than we could handle.
What do you mean?
She looked up at him, confused.
Oh, come on, we were just kids. If whoever killed the rabbits had actually showed up, they probably would have had a knife or something. I mean, you must have been pretty worried, right?
I wasn't worried. Because you were there with me.
She blushed furiously.
Well, you know, no one else wanted to take care of the animals.
Clearly embarrassed, she tried desperately to change the subject.
I was the only one who asked to do it at first.
Yeah, well, boys don't really want to bother with taking care of animals, you know?
Well, yeah, but you asked to do it after I did, didn't you?
If it wasn't the rabbits, they were gonna make me do something else. You know how that school was. I figured it'd be better if I was working with somebody who wasn't too much of a loudmouth, right? Somebody who wasn't gonna tell on me if I felt like blowing it off.
Really? That's why you volunteered?
Yeah, it is.
He nodded quickly and much too earnestly, and then quickly looked away at something very important.
Really?
Of course.
That hadn't been the reason, of course. He had asked to take care of the rabbit so that he could be near June. But it had been so long ago, he couldn't bring himself to tell her how he felt back then. It would be embarrassing. He took a quick breath to clear his head, tossed the broom up, and then snatched it out of the air.
Well, we don't really have time to be walking down memory lane like this, you know? We've got to figure out a way out of this room. Otherwise...
Yes. I'm gonna look over there.
June nodded curtly, then turned and walked away. Junpei, you gotta do it, brother!
I should get back to it myself. Ah!
Oh.
That's right. The pool of blood.
Junpei turned around and looked at the room. At Snake's body. Chunks of flesh and organs still lay on the floor.
Going on and on about old times right next to a corpse? What were we doing? Well, maybe it was because we're in this mess.
Despite such a situation, or perhaps because of it, the mind turned to the farthest thing from death that it could find. Still, Junpei couldn't help but feel a twinge of guilt at wanting so desperately to live when Snake lay dead before him.
I have to survive, no matter the cost. I need to make sure she gets out too.
As he stared at the clumps of blackened flesh, all Junpei could think of was how much he wanted to live. Yeah, we got the broom. What are you doing with the broom? All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up this episode here. I think probably we combine the broom with the toilet paper roll, but we'll find out next time. Thank you so much for watching. This is Luckless Lovelocks signing off for now, and I love you all.